Welcome to the LayerWP Podcast, where Ben Townsend peels back the layers of the people and products of the WordPress community. Every episode is a conversation with an interesting WordPresser. We have fun, we keep it real, and we look through the layers that make us who we are.
Hey everyone, welcome to the LayerWP podcast. Today's guest is a gentleman called Simon Harper. I'm going to hand it over to Simon and over to you. So who are you? What do you do?
Ben, thank you for having me on. It's lovely to be here. I hope you're coping with my dulcet tones.
Oh, yes.
So I'm a solopreneur. I run my own business. I've been doing this now for 15 plus years. So it was 2009 that I set up. But I started sort of doing what I do now 25 years ago. I built my first website in static HTML and CSS days. So there's been a lot of changes since then. For any of your audience that may know me, they'll probably know me for mostly WordPress and WooCommerce and email marketing. And if you don't know me before, now you do.
Yeah, indeed. Now you know him. Right. So you've got a couple of newsletters as well.
Yeah.
Right. So you're a big what's the word? Big into email marketing, right? So you've got an email newsletter that talks about email marketing, that sort of thing, and you've got a WordPress one that went through a recent revision of late. So tell us about your newsletters. What's going on with those?
Yeah, I've got three actually. One's kind of sort of active, but not. It's a LinkedIn newsletter. So I was one of the beta testers for LinkedIn newsletters, and it's kind of about business. And it's really cool because it's more of a newsletter product than what it was before, but it's still just fancy LinkedIn articles. But it does very well, and it's been on a hiatus for a while. But I'm going to bring it back because people keep organically going to it, and that's always nice whenever people are visiting these things and you're like, oh, maybe I should do this again. But for the other ones that kind of everybody knows me for, I had a regular newsletter on a Monday for email marketing and one on Wednesday for WordPress, and they've just decided to split them up recently. They were both with MailChimp. They're with Beehive now, and they've got their own separate domains and their new names and their new logos and stuff. Very much like, I need to get this done or I'm never going to do it. I'm really annoyed because I'm glad that I did it, because it's kind of doing what I preach when it comes to email marketing, and the growth that they've been going through and the feedback and comments are kind of like, yeah, why didn't I do this whenever I teach this? So top tip for people, if you do have a newsletter, niche it down, give it its own domain, give it its own brand, and give it all the attention that it needs, and don't try and run, as I was before, multiple newsletters together on the same platform, on the same domain, because you can't get the growth there that you would have if everything was kind of separated off.
Yeah, that's probably sage-like advice. I mean, I've done this before, and I've done newsletters. I don't really send them out as much as I used to. Forgive me, I've got hay fever. That's why I was going to wear sunglasses, but because my eyes look like piss holes in the snow. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of difficult. I mean, I did the LayerWP thing and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I've done WP deals as well, which I need to bring back because I think that's got a lot of legs and it has got a lot of subs, and I don't use it, which is a shame. So it should be a byproduct of that. But I mean, from your perspective, how obviously you got the email newsletter about email marketing. You've got the WordPress one about WordPress stuff. Which one is, I'm not going to say which one's better, but which one do you enjoy more? I mean, it's got to be. You're an email marketer, right? So,
Yeah, it's funny because I think which do you enjoy more is a really good question, and it's one that I can't actually easily answer. So my business started out as website building and graphic design, and even print design. I think a lot of graphic designers did that kind of stuff, and then eventually I niched all those things down. And at about sometime around 2011, 2013, I added in email marketing to that. And still the majority of my business, I would say, is particularly the e-commerce niche within WordPress and WooCommerce, that kind of stuff. But newsletters, as a lot of people kind of know me now for, are what I enjoy writing about more. And I don't think that's email marketing's fault. I think it's controversial. I think it's WordPress's fault, because, as you know, being in the WordPress community, you can choose to be in it, which is hard, or you can choose to be outside it, which is a lot easier. And I think that's whenever it comes to writing content. So I have a bigger audience for my WordPress newsletter, but I have a far more engaged audience for my newsletter all about email marketing. And I just find it easier to write, because whenever I come to write content for WordPress, I'm kind of like, who am I going to offend by writing this? And what flack am I going to get for doing it? Also, is there any point in me writing this? Because there's so much hate at the moment. So it's kind of taken a backseat for a little bit now. It's been fun for the subscribers that are in there. I'm still reaching out to them, talking to them. There's Paul Charlton had a phenomenal deal on one of his courses, which I had taken myself. I thought, oh, this is great. So shared those kind of things out. So I think one of the strongest elements of the WordPress was whenever I was running community elevation. I did it in both newsletters. So I was picking somebody each week in the community to highlight and to lift them up. And that was a great thing. But it's just getting harder and harder to do in the WordPress sphere.
Yeah, well, yeah, you can. I think it's one of those things, isn't it? With email marketing. Okay, you've got the skills, you've got the knowledge, and equally in WordPress as well. But you're right. You're right about WordPress stuff. You're going to ruffle feathers, and it is such. I like the fact that you said that you're either in it or out of it from a community perspective, because it is one of those things, isn't it? I like to think I'm hovering, like a drone attack. Do you know what I mean? Like, you've got the Earth, you've got the ozone layer. I'm sort of like, just every now and again, I have a look down. Oh, what's going on? No, fuck that. Go back up again. No, it is like that. And yeah, there's a lot of controversy. Sorry, and I do, I try and steer clear of it, and every now and again I get involved. I don't particularly like it because it's not good for the nerves, and it does tell you certain people that you should or shouldn't probably be talking to. But that's just the way of life. So your newsletters and what are you doing sponsorships?
No. So this is the fun thing. So I technically built my monetization plan 2 years ago and have a very detailed 4-page Google Doc on this in terms of platforms, tool to use, customer search, prices, all that kind of stuff. But despite being in business for myself for over 15 years, I hate asking people for money. However, anytime that, shall I say, peers come to me and say, hey, we're thinking of this monetization idea, what do you think? Should we do it? I'm like, yeah, sure, go for it, but make these tweaks. Off they go, and all of a sudden they're they're raking it in, and I'm kind of like, yeah, just hit the button, man. So I need to do that. It's much easier. That's one of the reasons why I moved to Beehive, because there's so many different ways that you can monetize the platform whenever it's built in. The only issue is that I suppose it's like anything, the advertising space within email marketing is very, very crowded. So your value proposition needs to be good, or else you need to have a very, very specific makeup of people in your audience that's automatically going to attract sponsors. But yeah, I'll pull that trigger one day.
I think 100%. I mean, if you've got links to anything, when this does get published, probably in about 2 years from now, you probably already push a button. But when you do, give us a shout, and we'll put links in there as well at the bottom of the video and all that sort of stuff. And I am trying to put these onto the website as well.
Yeah.
So so people can find. So I've got to do a whole section on that sort of crap anyway. But I think you probably do very well out of that stuff with the email side of things, email marketing, newsletter, and the WordPress one. I can see you doing all right. I know, what's his name? Oh God, what's that? Devinder does really well.
Yeah, we speak about it.
Yeah, WP Weekly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I am at the point where I'm having brands reach out to me, and which is nice. I did have a WordPress SaaS-based company that's rather large that reached out to me last year and said X, Y, and Z, and I was like, okay, well, here you go. And they're like, oh, actually, maybe you're not a good fit. I was like, no worries. But they came back to me this year and were like, hey, could we do this? And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe. So yeah, it's been interesting. Although I'm kind of glad I said the maybe and not no, because the product is excellent, and they have a lot of automatic support in the background, but how I need to be diplomatic here. The affiliate program, I feel, is quite pushy and aggressive. So I'm kind of like, I'm not so sure. No, so we'll see. We'll see. I won't say any more than that, because Automatic owns so many products behind the scenes, or invested behind the scenes, that doesn't reveal too much.
No, it doesn't. But I like the fact that you're actually you've got morals. No, let's not bullshit each other. There's a lot of people in the space that haven't got any, and the fact that you're actually thinking about your subscribers, you're actually caring for them, and the fact that you don't want to promote something that is going to be forever and a day pummeling them with information. I think that's incredibly respectful. So I mean, from my perspective, that's probably what's held me back for years, but I like it. I like that methodology, because it means you give a shit, and that is a good thing. No, seriously, it's not a feature, but it's true. Is what it is, but you're honest, and I think that that's not always the case in WordPress, is it?
No, and I think everybody has their own moral compass, so to speak, and I think ethics are now coming out obviously more and more, especially with AI. We can do it, but should we do it? And we're seeing all the Jeff Goldblum quips as Ian Malcolm from a 31-year-old movie, which makes me feel very old. Although it's just we do have questions to ask ourselves whenever we do go and do a lot of stuff nowadays, and there's a lot of people as well, and this question came up very recently. In fact, I think it was Jamie Marsland from Poodle Press asked this, like, if you find out a CEO behaves in a certain way, will you continue to use their product or will you not? And the comments were really interesting, because it's like, well, the CEO doesn't necessarily speak for the rest of the staff, and and there's others like straight away, no, we'll stop using it. So that there is lots of questions that come up going like, if this brand represents X, Y, and Z, should I? And then you kind of look at your audience as well and see where their interests are. So I think you've kind of touched on it there, where there's two interests. There's your own, obviously, as a business and a content creator, and then there's your audience and who you're serving. Because a lot of people will go, screw my audience, I'm going to deliver the content that I want to give to them, which kind of works sometimes, but I wouldn't recommend it. I like to have content that people want to receive. And whenever it comes down to email marketing, if they don't get content they want to receive, they're going to unsubscribe anyway. But I think, again, that just depends where your audience is. So for example, on LinkedIn, I'm known as the email marketing guy, whereas on Twitter, I'm known as the WordPress guy. And I post the same content in both platforms, but it just depends on the audiences that are there and and the algorithm and how they engage. So there you go.
What I was going to say to you, actually, prior to this, obviously me and Simon had a chat, because we did. Was it called the Fluffer Room? Isn't it? I think something like that in the adult entertainment industry. Nothing happened. Shame. I'm joking. I'm married happily or unhappily. Oh no. Anyway, we talked about LinkedIn.
Yes.
And how? Right, because I see LinkedIn as a backslapping orgy of people that are just like, fucking, do you know what? I do this. I am a legend. I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I piss success. I have an ice bath. I do a 20-mile run, and I go home, make love to my wife, and then I get to the office and I write, X, Y, and Z, and I sell 20,000 houses. That is LinkedIn, right? Or not?
I think it depends. I'm like, there's more bros on there than there's ever been, but equally, it depends on what way you are receiving content in that algorithm. Because I get this a lot, And for me, I don't see a huge amount of that. And I do see a lot. Most of my stuff is kind of like people sliding into my DMs and trying to get me to sell shit or buy shit because I'm in the software sphere, and I'm kind of like, meh. But in terms of the actual content that comes across for me personally, because I mostly work and engage with creators on there, my content is good, but it's definitely, it's definitely there, but I don't think it's a LinkedIn specific issue. I think it's become more of an issue than it was in the past, but again, it just depends on what content is feeding through. But I think regardless of what platform you're on, kind of what you were saying there about those types of posts, they are severely lacking in context, as well, because a lot of these people, if they're telling the truth, probably only work 1 or 2 hours a day, so have all this time to do all these things, or haven't told you that they've been in business for 20 years to get to this point, or just bullshitting. But it's just, the thing about those things as well is that even if you had the time to do X, Y, and Z, you may want to do A, B, and C. So it's, I think a lot of what's changing now, or what I would hear grumblings off, is more the likes of Gen Z coming onto LinkedIn and everybody saying, why is LinkedIn being turned into TikTok? But I'm kind of here for it to a certain extent, because I think some of the stuff is brilliant. And what's so good about that for me is that it's a thumb stopper. It'll make you stop scrolling, because you're going through and all of a sudden it's like, what's this? And you're like, oh, as opposed to, here's how you earn $20 million in 3 days.
I think that's probably a really good way of describing it. Actually, it's an age thing, isn't it? I mean, I'm well, was I born 1976? So I think technically I'm not a boomer. I think I'm a X-Men or X-Man. Anyway, but yeah, I agree with what you're saying. Like, newer generations are coming up with better stuff. That's a fact.
Yep.
And you've got to be on board with that, because you can't just keep pushing the younglings down and go, wait your turn. That's bullshit, right? Nobody needs that. You're never going to progress as a society unless you encourage and foster youth. Which Gen Z is still older, but old. But we need to embrace that. And I see TikTok. My son's heavily into it, and I think most people that are younger are into it. And I've seen some hilarious stuff on there, truly hilarious. The stuff of nightmares sometimes, and some stuff that's just made me laugh for like a couple of days. But it's I think Facebook, which is to a degree a little bit of a boomer's paradise, I suppose, is the best way to put it. My dad uses Facebook. My dad's 67, well, 68, and he uses it to talk to his sister, my auntie, and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
And I just think it's, I've advertised on Facebook before for the day job, and you do get a lot of people that go on there and say, right, you want to target a range. Well, I'm going to target 50 to 60.
Yeah.
Because, that's what's going to happen. Simple as that. I mean, where do you see, from a social media perspective, obviously X, Twitter, forever be Twitter in my mind's eye, but, whatever. What do you see as being the next platform? Because Threads is just basically a shit show from what I can see. It is. So I'm not going to lie. I've looked into it. I've dipped into it. And it's just horrific. So where next? Is social media the right thing?
Well, before I answer that question, I want to ask you a question.
Go on.
Based on what you were saying about your little quip about X-Men, if you could be an X-Men, who would you be, and why? While you're thinking, I tell you, I'd be Wolverine.
You bitch.
Yeah.
I was gonna.
Thought you might.
No, I wouldn't. I'd be Magneto.
Oh.
Well, it's not an X-Men,
Well, X-Men 97 on Disney, the return to it, I'm not going to ruin it for anybody, but, he may or may not be an X-Men in it. He's a conflicted character.
Yeah, and I like the fact he can do things with metal.
Yeah,
so I can fix my car for my MOT, which is due this month, by the way. So if you want to sponsor and subscribe, please do so, because I can't afford it. Yeah,
Love
there
it.
you go. Boom.
Well, no, I think on a more serious note, to answer your question, I think in terms of social media, it's part of the wheel. It's part of life cycle marketing. It's an area that kind of, you need to invest in. And if you don't have time to do it, get somebody else to do it for you. And it's finding the right channel, because as a brand, you don't have to be on all channels. I'm very much an advocate for that. You cannot be on all channels, and you can't affect unless, you're some asshole like Gary V. Sorry, Gary, not a fan.
No, I agree.
A fan, or Neil Patel, not a fan.
Agree.
But equally, one of the reasons why they're very successful is they have huge content teams that are doing all this research for them, posting on these channels in the correct voice, using the correct content for the algorithms. Not for 1 second are these two lovely, fine people who I don't really know, doing all of this content themselves, because they're not. You can't. So you kind of have to pick where you're going to be. I'm like, I use Instagram personally, but not for work. I haven't used Facebook in 7 years. I use WhatsApp for business, because it's a great way to not let people take over your work phone, so to speak. And in terms of actual social posting, it's for the business, it's been LinkedIn and it's been Twitter. And yeah, this is X, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I've looked into Mastodon, I've looked into Blue Sky, and there's been, that other weird Microsoft LinkedIn killer from a couple of years ago. I need to find the name of that.
I know what you mean. Yeah. Oh, shit. Began with a Q, didn't it?
I can't remember. I haven't logged into it in forever, but that's the problem. There's so many things out there, but that's the big thing that I've learned this year. So there's a brilliant local shall we say networking sort of thing over here in Belfast. It's where it's called the DM sessions, and basically you get content marketers, digital advertisers, technology, AI, all that kind of stuff. So people come in on a monthly basis and do these talks, and you learn about all these kind of things, and they have a conference and stuff. And one of the things that is kind of reinforced things for me is that particularly if you're working on your own like me, and there's only one of you in the business, you cannot do all of these things. So I have, if I need to do something or need to do social media stuff, I'm not going to include it in my business. So I'm not going to say, look, I'm going to build your website, I'm going to set up your newsletter, and I'm going to run the social media to do all the promotion and stuff for that. I have to give that to somebody else. There's reasons why social media influencers exist. There's reasons why there is just social ads teams. There's reason why there's just content teams, because you need to be so good now, particularly beyond trend. You see the catch trends today and to adapt those and make them relevant. Oh my word, I would hate it. It would cause me so much anxiety. So I leave that to the professionals.
It's a fucking newsroom. That's what it is. It's a newsroom, right? It's like, seriously, it's like Wall Street, like people waving tickets around. Oh my God, it's a trend about cats. Everybody write about cats. That's what it's like. Have you got time to do that as an individual?
No.
You got around it often, yeah. Or you just love cats and you can talk about them all day long, which is sad, but kind of cool. What's next for you? What
sorry, I'm not laughing at you. It's just a question I always ask myself. I'm actually virtually meeting Paul Charlton from WP Tuts on Thursday to talk a little bit about this.
Mm-hmm.
I have plans. I always have plans, Pinky in the brain for people of our age that will know what that is. Yes, so exactly. We're going to take over the world, Pinky. Same thing we do every night. Okay, Blaine. We'll get there. But I mean, my problem is, and I think I hinted at this earlier on, is I'm great at teaching. As I'll be so I do a lot of consultancy stuff on the side, and that'll probably be my exit. In terms of application for myself, I'm very slow. So yes, Ben, I've got monetization sorted 2 years ago and have a 4-page detailed spreadsheet on it, but haven't done anything with it. So I think the next kind of stage for me is actually executing the plans that I have. That is the biggest thing. But you know what it's like. I mean, particularly with I think WP Deals, which is, I think maybe had 2 goes around the block. I liked both goes, but obviously, they didn't work for some reason. So you're kind of like, right, these 2 methods haven't tried. What's the third one? And that's the scariest thing. So, right, I've planned all this. This is what next. If it doesn't work, I'm not going to give up, but I know I'm not going to have to spend time figuring out version 2, or I could just try and get lucky and it'll work. That would be lovely.
Well, yeah,
that would be really lovely.
It would. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing for me has been diversifying. So for a very, very long time, I stayed very niche in terms of my clients' service area. So I mostly work with customers in Northern Ireland. And if you know Northern Ireland and you live and you work in it, you know that's actually very difficult. And we have some unbelievably talented and arguably a couple of world leading. I'm like, they're up in there. They certainly are up in their creative agencies, but none of their customers are Northern Irish. Most of them, they'll have some big ones in the UK, but most of them are American, or they'll work with, big companies down in Dublin, that kind of thing. So diversifying my offering. I have been working a lot more with customers in Ireland, which is complicated because I live in Northern Ireland. So if anybody wants to chat about the politics one day, we can.
No,
but it's definitely not for this podcast.
No,
and then equally mainland. So lovely people like yourselves, working with you guys. It's much better, and I think that's kind of one. So in many ways, I'm doing the same thing I've always done, but I'm diversifying my service area, and that has been great. The only thing is that, as that technically becomes more lucrative, that makes tax issues. And again, I'm a very moral and ethical person. So you see lots of questions being asked of, should I do this? Can I do this? And I'm kind of like sitting there going, why are you even asking this question? You should definitely be doing this. But equally, your profits then just go, meh.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the main issue, isn't it? It's like how much, the tax man comes after you. Next thing you know.
Yeah. But as you know, regardless, and sorry for mentioning politics, yes, I will caveat this, no government is even remotely perfect. Living in Northern Ireland, I know that. But equally, if everybody actually paid their taxes, it would make the public services over here an awful lot better.
It would over here as well.
Yeah.
This has been a Tory broadcast. No, I'm joking. I'm not. Actually, I was going to ask you. Actually, is this too personal? It is too personal, but I'm going to fucking do it.
Okay.
If I can. Yeah. Voting.
We have a different system over here. So we could vote for you guys, but
please don't.
We won't. Most of us here will vote for our own local constituents that would be sitting represented at Westminster. But yes, there is the option. I mean, I think we have a local Conservative candidate. So yeah. We do have local parties over here who are, Labour, socialist kind of side of things, but yeah, we don't vote for the mainland. We'll take money from you, but we don't tend to vote for parties over there.
To be honest with you, I'd take money from anywhere as long as it wasn't England at the moment, because it's a shit state. I don't know who I'm going. Actually, I'm potentially for the first time in my 47 years thinking about not voting, because I don't know. It's picking the lesser of two evils, and I don't really feel comfortable with that. I don't like this whole we got a two-party kind of thing going on. Do you know what I mean? It's like round here, Lib Dems are proper. They're seriously every other house round here has got the sign, orange sign. But I looked through their paper because it come through actually probably about 5 minutes before, well, actually 15 minutes before we started having this chat, and I was looking at what they were doing. I just thought, well, that's exactly the same as what everybody else is saying. Okay. So what do I do? Do I go with a long shot, or do you go with somebody that's a little bit, I don't know. It's a difficult thing. I don't like politics. I don't really want to get into politics because and hate it, to be honest with you. They're all gangsters with a legalized police force, enforcers, sorry, which is the police, and whatever. I don't like it.
I kind of feel like we should be heading into some Def Jam records and some music kind of in the background, Public Enemy and a few other kind of things here now.
Yeah, damn straight, man. I just don't have. Fuck the politicians. There you go. Fuck the
On that note, it was actually a podcast. Was it one of the first podcasts? Who were we talking to about techno music?
Oh, Corey.
Yeah, Corey Mass, wasn't it?
Yeah,
that was brilliant. Like, I was just kind of like, because this is the fun thing. Whenever you asked me to come onto the podcast, I was like, one of the reasons why I'm so excited about this podcast is kind of like, I have no idea where it's going to go, and neither did the audience.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite podcasts at the moment is a podcast called Geek Out, and it's run by Karen Slater and Megan Boschison. And it's about, or what we all assumed were going to be about, was email marketing, because they're two phenomenal email developers and email geeks. And the podcast was called Geek Out. But basically, it is a podcast that's the tiniest bit about email marketing, but it's basically Saved by the Bell logo, Saved by the Bell theme, Saved by the Bell jingles throughout, and is about gaming and just life. And you're just kind of like, this is totally awesome. And then the odd email marketing thing kind of thrown in.
Yeah.
So I do love your format. It's really good, and I'm hoping it continues to grow and catch, because I know you were tempted to drop every episode, and all of us were next. We're like, no, don't do that. Drip the content. Because personally speaking, I'm waiting to see how Kevin Geary's went.
Oh, fucking hell. Yeah, I thought I was probably off my nut with Kevin.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I did. Yeah, he's he's a nice guy.
I would say he's phenomenally intelligent.
Yes, like the Mekons from Dan Dare. Do you remember Dan Dare? No? Oh, shit, I'm showing my age.
No, you're okay. I'm 39 for context.
Oh, okay. Well, you could have led with that, because I wouldn't use the Dan Dare comic thing and just.
You're all right.
Yeah. Right. Pinky
like
in the brain.
Man.
Right. Yeah. So,
okay. Well, I know he's the brain. He's right.
Brain.
Okay. Yeah.
So, he's super smart, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I've spoken to a lot of people in my life, and we can tell somebody's a dick, or they're just like so smart that you've just got to smile and wave and just agree with whatever they say, because you're not going to win an argument, because they're right. Kevin Geary's that. He is, for me. I watch his. I subscribed. I think it's when I spoke to him, I thought he was a lovely guy. Honestly, I thought it was going to be contentious. I thought it was going to be awkward. I thought all these sort of things, because he is very vocal, right?
Yeah.
But when you speak to him, he's got a point to make, and I think, and this goes back to what you said, like about the WordPress shit. Like, everybody's got in or out of the community, and I think he's got a lot of valid points. But you're going to have people that are always going to stick up for WordPress until the wheels come off, right? And then you've got people that are practical and saying, like, well, if you do this, maybe it'll be more popular. He is that guy. For me, he's that guy. I'm not sponsored by Kevin Geary, but I just thought he was a lovely guy.
Who's been your favorite guest so far?
Favorite guest so
Kevin
far?
Geary?
No. Do you know what? The one that I really liked, and I thought they were absolutely awesome, and I've still not published it yet, is Patrick Posner.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
the reason why I asked is it means then whenever you drop this one, I will go back and watch the one that I forgot to watch, because you said this is my favorite guest. So it's like a loaded question.
Oh my God. Patrick Posner's podcast went on for an hour and 50 minutes.
Wow.
Hour and 50 minutes. The guy, oh my God, I'm just creasing up thinking about it. He's just, he's brilliant. He's just such a lovely guy. He's so funny, and he's very on point, because this is probably going to sound racist, but it's not meant as racism. Germans are very efficient in what they say.
We'll call that a stereotype.
Yeah, A stereotype, yeah, okay. So he's very succinct with
Yeah.
what he does. He's very on point. But when he twists it, he
Okay.
just dials it a little different way. It's just comedy gold. I mean, I was crying at one point, literally towards the end of the video. I was like absolutely crying. He's thinking about it now, it's funny, super funny.
I'm excited now to go back. Obviously, this is really strange because obviously you haven't published it yet, and we're talking about it in the retrospective. But like, I'm looking forward to going back after this one's published and then seeing it. So, I mean, have you got Jamie or Dave or Paul or Katie Keith? Anybody of those people?
Yeah, I've done. God, I don't want to say that. It sounds awful. I've spoken to Paul. I've spoken to Dave. I've spoken to Katie.
Wow.
So they're all in the can. It's just, you know, it's like, dudes, you know, you got kids.
Yep.
I've got a full-time job as well. You got a full-time job. You know, it's just sitting down and having the time to actually go through and edit absolutely everything. I've got probably 18 episodes in a can. Yours is 19. So I've got to go through and do every single one of those.
Jeepers, that's amazing.
Yeah, but it's amazing, but it's also a lot of work. So, like a shit ton of work, as well as doing your day job, as well as trying to earn money on the side. You know, it's super hard. I can't even afford to pay somebody. I can't even afford to offload it on somebody. Do you know what I mean? It's like some of them.
The podcast then.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to do podcasting on films and stuff like that as well, because I find that super interesting. I've got
Mark Commode style.
Yeah, because what's the word? One of those minds where you can recall stuff.
Okay, fair enough. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so I can name films from a certain point and tell you who directed it, who starred in it, and all that sort of stuff. And films are my super main sort of like passion. And I'd love to get into that. Just like, you know, just sitting there analysing films and talking about them. And I know it'd probably get about 4 subscribers, but you know what? I don't care because I'd enjoy myself. And that's the thing.
It worked out for, as I was saying, the podcast earlier on, from Megan and Karen Geek Out, because they had an established audience. And everyone thought, oh, an email marketing, but all of a sudden it was this. So I mean, you could do something like that. What was the last thing you watched? It's not a movie, but I'm absolutely loving season 1 of Arcane League of Legends on Netflix. It's one of the most beautiful things I have ever seen. Because the second and final season drops in November.
Yeah, I watched Arcane. Because I have no allegiance to anything, so I just took it for what it was, and I loved Cyberpunk.
The cartoon movie on Netflix. Oh my goodness, it was one of the most grim, sad assault on the senses that left you traumatized but wanting more.
Yes, it was. Yeah, I mean, film wise, what have I seen? Via a website. Yeah. Anyway, don't talk about that. Mad Max Furiosa.
Oh, I haven't seen it yet, but I want that.
Loved it. Absolutely loved it. And it gets a lot of hate because it's got a female lead. Absolute bullshit. Don't believe it, because the action it's just wow. 2 hours and whatever it is, and loved it. And this is the first time, to be honest with you, I know we're going off script now. Chris Hemsworth, right? He gets a bad rap because he looks, you know, he's a good looking guy, right? Can't act for shit. No, don't believe that. Watch Furiosa and watch him get out of his skin, because he's got this prosthetic. Sorry, apologies, my dog. He's got this prosthetic proboscis, on, and he doesn't look like him, so he can't rely on his looks anymore.
Yeah,
he's actually got to act, and he was, man, seriously, really good. If you get a chance, rent it, do whatever, give it a go. It was really good.
Is your doggo wanting us to end this podcast?
No, my dog just barks at random stuff like wind shapes, noise, and colors.
I'm surprised. I'm in my garden office at the moment now. This is not my background, as we discussed before, but normally you can hear, because I live beside the sea, seagulls flying around or landing on my roof, and also because my office is in my garden. We kind of live on the back of a golf course stroke wood. So I have lots of squirrels that run around on my roof and bang things off it and things like that there. So my garden's normally full of wildlife. I'm quite surprised that I've been able to record this podcast relatively quietly. But yeah, sorry, that was my fault. Sorry for bringing you off topic.
No, it's fine.
For the audience.
We should do a podcast talking about films. We should do that.
You know what? Me 10 years ago, yeah.
You
Not
know
that I wouldn't love doing it now, but equally, I don't get time to watch movies. It's kind of like I would love to. It takes me about 4 days to watch a movie just because kids. So it does, and sometimes it's kind of like, I don't want to sit and watch this on my small screen. I want to watch this on a big screen. So the cinema is like a big treat for me nowadays.
So that was a really good way to say fucking no, really.
Not no, I would love to, but not yet.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it. That's fine. A no's fine. You could have just said no. That's fine.
No,
I'm not hurt.
no.
I'm not hurt in any way. No, I will do it at some point, I think.
I think you should.
Yeah, just a bit of fun, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I don't, like you, I don't get a lot of time. I mean, I've got my boy every other weekend, stepdaughter when she does bother to come round, which is not very often. It's shit house if you're watching it. Yeah, your mum misses you, and I kind of do. But yeah, I don't really get a lot of time to do anything. Take the dog for a walk and all that sort of bollocks.
Yeah.
It is tough. Yeah, you come back from work, you're knackered, and the last thing you want to do is do anything, right? Because it is what it is, and your time is precious. But yeah, totally understand. You don't want to do it at all. I'm joking.
I'm watching your face for visual cues. So I was kind of like, for anybody that missed that bit and they're kind of like not watching the podcast, they're kind of thinking, why is there a really awkward silence? There's not Ben giving looks and me giving looks back to Ben.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, for those that can't see, sorry. But yeah. Anyway, right. It's been brilliant to have you. It's 11:57, and do
you want to ask me one more question on topic, or should we leave it there?
What do you think?
I can answer one more on-topic question if you want.
Okay. Here's the on-topic question, the hot question.
Okay.
It's really hot. You ready? Scorpion, it's coming at you. Right. Where do you see WordPress in 5 years?
Yeah,
that's all I got.
Do you know what? It's interesting because Yoast and John O'Alderson are working on Yoast's annual update to the CMS market share and kind of where things are going. And I think a lot of what now I'm stressing, they are not necessarily saying this, but a lot of the conversations are happening amongst Jamie Marsland and Brian Kurds and Mike McAllister. WordPress is kind of having an identity crisis right now, or it's in an identity crisis. So I think it's a really good question kind of to ask, because we all know, we've seen the conversations if you're in the community around like WordPress needs a marketing team, and we also have this issue between .org and .com, and also how plugin results are appearing in search now for .com. But we have the likes of Wix and Shopify who have gigantic marketing budgets and are pushing in their products and their services, and WordPress just isn't advertising. And I think we've seen some phenomenal websites, NASA, the White House, all those types of things. I still think WordPress is probably the best CMS out there. Controversial opinion, but I do think that WordPress is the best CMS out there. And the problem is it's become, in my opinion, very difficult to use. I think instead of something, or maybe this is a classic thing with software, instead of it becoming easier over the last 10 years to use, over the last 4 years, it's become quite difficult ever since Matt went, right, blocks, that's it, off we go. Now, I'm not necessarily against blocks or the block editor. I'm really not. I just think that there needs to be much better communication amongst teams, amongst contributors, developers, automatic, businesses, like big ones like, 10up and all those kind of ones who are working on crazy projects. And there needs to be conversations around, okay, well, here's how agencies use it, here's how freelancers use it, and here's how businesses use it. Or here's how, somebody just starting out for the very first time knows nothing about tech and goes off. And that is difficult because WordPress is obviously, it's open source, it's accessible for everyone. You can do anything with it. But one of WordPress's greatest weaknesses is because you can do anything with it, nobody really knows where to start. It's particularly because if you do go on and you do research, you have people saying, you must use a page builder, you must use blocks. And it's kind of like, well, which is it? And how do I choose? Because, we see this constant, for example, talk about WooCommerce and Shopify. So WooCommerce is not WordPress. It's a plugin. But obviously, even the lines there are getting blurred, because if you now install WooCommerce and you have a full site editing theme installed, which I believe the name for that is changing as well, so you have an onboarding experience that makes it kind of look like WordPress and WooCommerce are the same if you have FSE installed. And that kind of removes some of the barriers to kind of what's going on. But at the end of the day, WooCommerce is a plugin, so they're kind of like, how can WooCommerce compete with Shopify? And it's like, well, it's really easy. The market share for WooCommerce is dramatically larger than anything else out there. But Shopify looks easier to use. It's much, much easier to use. But this is the now again, my opinion. Shopify, I work with it. I choose to work with it whenever I do. But their marketing is brilliant. Their pitches, their support documentation, the affiliates, partners, the ecosystem around it. But it's the same as WordPress. If you want to do anything advanced, you have to buy themes, you have to buy apps, but also it's a closed system. So it's not as easy to use as WordPress. It's restricted. And on top of that, I will let you get a word in here in a moment.
Sorry.
Once you try to do even the most basic things from a developer perspective, you can't do some of them because Shopify says no, closed system, we're not letting you do that because it will affect X, Y, and Z. And that's fine. But it just means that, you struggle to grow, or you move to Shopify Enterprise and you get charged an extortionate amount of money for something. And I think that's the issue then, again, transfers across, because WordPress has this identity crisis. So does WooCommerce in some ways. Again, I think it's the best e-commerce solution out there. It can scale. People think it can't. It can. Now, it does. It's not perfect. No system is. But I think for the majority of people out there, it is the best system for them. And we've come a long way with HPOS, and we're getting much better of kind of where we're going. But yeah, will WordPress still be as big in 5 years' time? I don't think so. Will it still have significant market share? Yes. But I think if Matt, you better be listening. I think if Matt doesn't have some sort of marketing and communications team in place and some sort of strategic development, even if there is an external agency that comes in and looks at this to kind of roadmap things out, WordPress is going to struggle further down the line, because there's so many of these things have come up and going, look, here are the pain points of WordPress. We solve those. Now, those services aren't necessarily perfect, but they've gone, look, everybody's using this software, but this is the problem they have with it. If we can solve those problems, they'll use ours. It's common sense.
Yeah, I actually, there's nothing to add to that. No, I totally agree with you, because I do see, I'm not a coder. I can't code for shit, but what I can do is I can set up a WordPress website in minutes, absolute minutes. And then when you try and explain it to somebody else, it's infuriating, because you think in the back of your head, well, this is what you do. You do that, you do this, you do that. Oh, yeah, boom. But then the logic is that why do they have to go through so many stages to do certain things, like actions and stuff like that? I love the block editor. I don't like full site editing as it stands at the moment. I'm a big believer in that wasn't the best way to do things, and I think it needs to be changed. But yeah, I completely agree. They need a marketing team in place that can simplify it, because the only way you're going to get any kind of market share in in 5 years' time is by simplification. So why not have? I think somebody said something the other day. I can't remember. I think I saw it today. I think it was Poodle Press. Jamie posted a picture of his niece or something like that, saying that why can't you have a dumbed down version of WordPress?
Oh,
Why can't you? Why can't you have that simplified version? So you have a beginner's one, which will be absolutely everything set up for you, and then a developer's version, which is what it is now. So why can't you have those two, sitting next to each other?
would that be something like? Not, and this isn't saying this is dumbed down, so nobody take offense here. But what about Classic Press?
Yeah, I mean, classic. I don't like Tiny MCE. I've never liked it.
Okay.
But I can see how that could be useful for a lot of people. That's a personal opinion of mine. I don't like it, but a lot of people would sit comfortably. That would sit comfortably in it. I think, like, what's the company that does it? Is it PrestaShop? Magento, they have different levels. So, like, you got the advanced, you got developers edition. So why can't they do that? Just have a developers edition, which is WordPress as it is now, and then just one that stripped the fuck back, and it just literally comes with WooCommerce and WordPress. Take out all the crap that they don't need, and it's just ready to go. That is the easiest way to do things, right?
I think. No, I do not quote me on this, even though we're on the podcast. So it's just essentially my disclaimer. But I think GoDaddy has done something. Marcus Burnett is probably the person to ask about this, or Courtney Robinson. But I think GoDaddy has built something, or they're building something around a packaged WooCommerce and a custom interface, I think. But the likes of Bluehost, I think, are doing something similar. But that's another, I know we're ending the podcast, but that's another topic entirely. And I think hosts add extra issues or problems to WordPress's identity crisis, because they're all competing with each other. And whenever it comes to the specific instance of WooCommerce, anybody listening, I did the bunny ears quotation marks, is that there's different layers of managed WooCommerce hosting or managed WordPress hosting, and most of that's just utter crap. It's not managed at all. You're talking more about a managed kind of version, and that's, like, there's Shopify even has Shopify Lite, and so it has all those tiered, broken down systems, and obviously we have WooExpress. So WooExpress is going to try and, I imagine, alleviate a lot of those issues for WooCommerce store owners, although I'm never happy, even though I'm a happy person. But it sounds like I'm never happy. I'm not entirely impressed with how all of WooExpress works. I know, I think it's great. I do. And I think obviously we're in first iterations of that, and it will get better. But I've done historical newsletters on this where I'm kind of like, interesting. But also, why don't you bring us some of these features into WooCommerce? But then we have that identity crisis thing again. It's tough. It really is tough. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's hard to be in the community and out of it, because if you're not in the community, you do miss out on a lot of this. But if equally when you're in it, it's stressful. Like, I don't know if Paul Charlton talked about this, but like, he has a brilliant view on just staying out of it. But again, he's a phenomenally intelligent person and seems to know everything that's going on anyway. So he's maybe not a good example as such to give. But Dave Foy's another one, as well. He's has done both. For staying outside of the community side of things, they've done phenomenally well. And if I've misquoted both of them, I apologize.
No. To be honest with you, I think it is a position, right? What do? Do you stay in it, stay in the community, or do you get out of it?
For me personally, I'm in it for now. I mean, I did have to I think I said in my newsletter at one point, I was taking a little break from the type of stuff I was posting because I didn't want to report in my news section some of the stuff where I'm just like, this is just pissing contests now, and it's just not helpful for anyone. But I think to end on a more positive note, there are tremendously incredible people within the community, and that's kind of why I am opting to sort of stay in it for now, because there's the likes of yourself, slip me 20 minutes later. There are genuinely brilliant people. So I mean, I would not be anywhere near as far down the line in my WordPress journey without certain people. I'm not going to name them. They genuinely know who they are, and if they don't, you can ask in the comments and I'll reply. But I would not be without the support of others, or even people challenging my views and beliefs of going, well, I don't agree with that, but I can see where you're coming from. So yeah, there is a lot of good in the community.
There is. I'm going to name the person who got me where I am now, which is obviously out of pocket and absolutely begging for sponsorships, is Michelle.
Michelle Forsett.
Yeah. 5 years ago, I posted a tweet and I said, is there anybody here that's worth following on Twitter? And excuse me, she shared that. We ended up doing an interview for Coffee Talk, WP Coffee Talk, which I'll put a link in there. And that's it. And now I've got 5,000 odd followers. And I've made some really good friends, people. I've met people like yourself as well. And that's because of her. There's no if, ands, or buts. It's because of Michelle. Simple as that. I'm not going to lie about it. I'm not going to say it's because of my magnetic personality. That's absolute bullshit. I'll be stuck on 500 followers even now. It's because of her. Seriously. And we're still friends to this day when we speak privately. And I love it a bit. She's joining the review team. So we're going to do pay for reviews. And the agreement is that we're 110% honest. So we'll point out any faults or anything like that, and it's up to the business to, allay any fears or anything like that in the comments or issue fixes and that sort of stuff. So we try to do things the ethical way without, doing 20 best plugins for, taxidermists or whatever. Try and do things a bit different. But Michelle is solely the reason where I am today, which is skint. Michelle, send me money. Anyway, right, yeah, okay. So let's end on a happy note.
That's awesome.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate your time. I always say this. I'd love to have you back and all that bullshit and all that sort of stuff. It's like one of those things that you say, oh, I'd love to have you back. But genuinely, I think, you're a good dude. And also your microphone thing.
Yes,
that kept flicking in and out because you're blurring. So you look like a transformer with some kind of arm cannon. Like it just kept coming in every now and again. It's like Decepticon shit.
I love that. Yeah, it's my Rode Podcaster. I was trying to adjust it earlier on, but once I sort out my actual proper green screen at the back, probably figure something out. But no, it's good.
We should definitely do something together.
Movies,
movies, hold hands. Go to the beach or something. Do you know what I mean? Make it different, memorable. No, we should definitely do something together. And if you speak to Paul, when you speak to Paul, say hi. He'll probably call me some kind of C word. And he probably will. Yeah, he's Welsh. That's what they do. I know because I married one.
There you go.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Anyway. She won't watch this episode. She doesn't do YouTube. No, unless it's Love Island or.
Okay. There you go.
Great. Right. Anyway, brilliant to talk to you.
too.
We'll put some links and all that sort of stuff. I'll reach out to you and we'll put some links, whatever you want, go in the description. And thank you.
Thank you.
No, it's been great. Seriously, right. What I do is I do this weird thing every time where I look at somebody and we're talking mid-flow, and then I just sort of like weirdly